I really thought music was going to be like my thing, but I did always have this kind of feeling inside that like music wasn't quite hitting it. And because it's really difficult to make a living as a musician, unless you're living like in New York or LA, and even then, I was always working a day job. I remember in January 2020 telling all my friends and all my coworkers and all the label mates, like, by the end of this year, I'm not going to be a bartender. Like, I'm not going to be in the bar. I'm going to be doing this full time. Yeah. And I had no idea that come March, I was going to get a call March 16th. And my job was like, yeah, we're laying you off like indefinitely. I actually got the call, hung up, and like ran outside and was like, hallelujah. Like I was so excited because I knew that no matter what was about to happen, that it wasn't going to be what I was doing before, and that I was going to do everything in my power to never go back to a job where I had a boss. I wanted to be my own boss. And so a month before that happened, I started painting. And then when I lost my job, it was like, well, now I have nothing to do but paint. And so I started painting on Reddit, where you could record yourself. People could watch you live doing whatever you want to do. And I was on there one day and I saw this guy painting and I was like, like I can do that. Like I can definitely do that. Like he's not really doing that. Yeah, I can do that. So I definitely taped my phone to a broomstick because I didn't even have a tripod at the time, and set it all up in my room. I didn't have an easel. I taped the piece of paper to the wall, lots of tape, and just started painting. And I had music playing in the background, and it went from like 7 people were watching me to like 70 people started watching me, and I was like, okay. I'm painting, not really like kind of freaking out, but just trying to stay personable. And I look back again and it's 7,000 people are watching me for like an hour. And I was just like, okay, so I don't know what kind of magical juice I just found, but I'm just going to keep drinking it. And so every single day I would get on Reddit and I would start painting. And I went from having like one follower to now I have like 4,000 followers. When I log in, people just instantly are like, oh, it's Darren, let's watch him paint. And I'm not always doing anything revelatory, but I talk to people and I think it just kind of broke through to people like, oh, this is just a real guy in his real house. But painting on Reddit didn't necessarily pay the bills. It was just kind of like a good way to build a following. And so from there, towards the end of the summer, I had been telling all my friends, like, I want to paint murals. I want to paint murals. I want to be a muralist. And one of the people that I used to work with before we all got laid off called me and was like, my mom has a fence on her property. And it's like right in the path of where a lot of these Black Lives Matter marches have been going. You're Black. I'm Black. I want you to come and paint Black Lives Matter on our fence. And I was like, cool, yeah, anytime. And she was like, no, I want you to do it today. And I was like, done. Grab some paint, grab some paintbrushes, rolled over there in my truck and just started painting. I didn't even have like a measuring tape, which I really wish that I would have had looking back. And while I was painting it, a couple came up to me and they were like, we have a fence and we want you to paint our fence. And I was like, cool, done. And so like over the rest of the summer and going into fall, I spent a lot of time developing and designing what they wanted painted on their fence. They wanted me to call back to the history, the Black history in Portland and in that neighborhood. And I did a lot of research and ended up finding myself on Portland Historical Society's website and was able to come up with 3 distinct pictures of Black history that are little known, and kind of like recomposited and redesigned them all into like this long mural, along with like a current time idea of marching across the St. John's Bridge, and an idea of the future of all of us being able to sit together. And it ended up being a 42-foot mural that I painted over like 2 months. And so that really kind of like kickstarted the idea of like, I always had the name Art Larger Than Me because I knew I wanted my art to be more meaningful than just a guy that does art. But that really kickstarted like, no, I'm literally making art larger than me and it's touching this neighborhood. And so the neighborhood and the people that own the fence and a lot of my network and following ended up paying me enough money to like get me through, June, July, August, September. And it was like for sure the springboard to where I was like, okay, I'm definitely not going back to the bar. I'm definitely doing this. Luck doesn't exist. Luck is, you being prepared for the opportunities when they come. And it's like preparation and opportunity crossing over. That's luck. So, yeah, it was like I took everything that music taught me and applied it to art, and then the world exploded. And on the COVID front and on the Black Lives Matter front. And I was just like, in the right place at the right time in a lot of ways. Like I remember towards the beginning of art career where I was like, okay, so if it hadn't been for Black Lives Matter and it hadn't been for like being in a queer city, like would this be even possible? And I called my mom and she was like, you better take that money. You didn't ask for the system to be broken and you didn't even ask to be born. So use it as a tool. Don't let it be a hindrance. So I recognize that, yeah, like it's hard to put like a percentage or an equation to like how much of my success I owe to what's happened in the last year, all of it. But then again, none of it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like if it was all of it, then there would be like thousands of ultimately like incredibly successful artists just making it off of their art. But it isn't that easy. So I think it's like I think it's like a meant to be moment where it's like I work really, really, really hard every single day, and I am who I am and I am what I am. But then also the world started to look for people like me at the same time.